Hello! I'm going right into my bullet journal to create the spreads for the month of May, so if you want to see how I've created the previous months of the year, I'll link the playlist down below. Otherwise, be sure to check out other art videos on my channel, subscribe if you'd like, and let's get started. Just a quick aside, I'm posting this before the start of May for two reasons. One, I usually post on Fridays, and that's just how the calendar lined up. And two, I'm aiming to post one video every day in May for Mermay, and didn't want to cram this bullet journal into the middle of, all that. So you're getting it early. Yay! For the cover page of the month, I decided to be optimistic and go for a full springtime theme. It just recently snowed here again, and this is me hoping to manifest an actual spring season soon. Because where I live, there isn't really much of a spring season. It just goes from really, really cold to kinda less cold to semi-decent, then to sweltering hot in the span of like a week or two. And by sweltering hot, I mean like mid-70s Fahrenheit, which to me is just this side of too warm, but I digress. I like the whole cherry blossom aesthetic a lot, as you'll see throughout this video, but I'd be lying if I said it was the only reason that I kept returning to it. It was also just incredibly easy. Make some boxes with intersecting borders, and boom, done. Similarly, with some tree branches, I took the watercolor brush pen and dragged it across the page on the side so that it would create a texture to mimic tree bark. Then just spotted some flowers and petals here and there, and done. Golden. Perfect. I did mess up with the word May, though. I started with the fine liner, but I realized it was just too thin and light to be noticeable, and so I just took the brush pen and went over it and hoped it looked okay. It does not look okay. But the deed is done, and it's not like I actually spend a lot of time open to this page anyway. It's just a spread to play around with ideas that I have and give the journal, like distinct separations. Not even a necessary spread, but like it helped me brainstorm new ways to work with the theme later, so yeah. And this is how the cover came out. The colors are a little shaky and some lines are a bit sloppy, but it was a nice start. So I obviously had to continue the theme onto the month spread. I mean, I didn't have to, but I wanted to try and make the theme look better, especially with the boxes. I don't really like the lines from the cover page, so I decided to go with a different approach. I overlined the boxes a little bit, and then added little cross sections in the opposite corners inside the boxes. I don't know how to really describe it, but you can see it for yourself. I think it comes across how I wanted it to, but maybe you have other thoughts on it. Let me know. Also, is there a word or description for what I'm doing with these, like what this is called? Because for the life of me, I can't put a finger on it. I just cannot think of what it's called or if there's a name for this. Either way, I did the same thing with the empty spaces here as I did with the cover page, where I dragged a brown brush pen across the page in a tree branchy series of lines and dotted some pink blossoms. Then titled it May because it's May. I thought that was pretty self-explanatory. I really like how this came out. It's a bit more simplified, but in a good way. And I promise the light pink is more visible in person. I just wasn't able to adjust the photo very well, and I definitely didn't feel like taking and editing a new photo altogether, so with that, let's move on to the week spreads. This spread is probably the easiest, simplest, most bare-bones spread ever. All you need is a liner and a ruler. I just sectioned the spread vertically so that there was a column for each day. The first section is set aside for like my usual like goals, notes, next week stuff, and that's it. What I change here, though, is that I write out all the hours of the day and all the habits under each day. So anything I have to do on those days, I want to try and plan out the time as well. I'm trying this because I tend to be more productive when I'm more conscious of the time, but we'll see. Time blindness is a bit of a... So this is how the first week looks in full. I added some washi tape at the bottom just to give it something interesting, Otherwise, it's honestly a really boring spread, but hopefully a helpful one. Who knows? As for the second week, I decided to pick one of my washi tapes and just tape out a week section ahead of time and design the rest of the spread around the tape. I doodled some flowers and stems and lined the boxes with a brush marker for the goals and habits. Then I used the same brush marker to doodle in some loose vine borders between the days within the week section. Now, my initial plan was to just fill the entirety of the spread outside the week section with plant and flower doodles, but I bailed on that for 2 reasons. The first being that I am lazy, and that sounded like a lot more work than I felt like putting in at the moment. The second reason was honestly that I was worried about the pages getting worn down from the brush pens. They're technically like watercolor, so they're a little heavy for this paper, and I didn't want any bleed through. So I kept it to the borders, and you know what? I think I prefer it that way. So that's how this week turned out. I'm sure it wouldn't hurt to add a couple more flowers or grass blades or something, but I'll add those in when and if I feel like it. Other than that, I'm going to move on to the third week. I'm going to be honest, this week is set up like it is solely because I wanted to use more washi tape. And, naturally, I had to use the holographic tape. It's nice and thin enough to use as borders, and I can pair it with whatever colors I want. I'd been using a lot of pinks, so I jumped to the other end of the spectrum and used my blue liners and highlighters. I also used a gray liner to give it a bit more dimension, because it's an extra, not color, but shade, you know? I don't know if maybe I should have added another strip of washi tape around, the edges of the right page to make it look more like a solid box, but it's not a big deal. I can add it later if I feel like it. Of course, that's the key here. Do I ever feel like it? Up for debate. Did I mention I did this for the hollow washi tape though? Because look at it. It's so pretty. So this is how I made the third week spread. It's a nice contrast to the themes I'd used earlier, and also a begrudging nod to the fact that I know it's probably going to snow at least one more time in May before winter will finally call it quits. So, for the final week, I thought it was only fitting to make a return to form and try the cherry blossom theme again. This time, doing something just a little different once again with the boxes. And also, once again, I just don't know how to describe what I'm doing other than drawing the intersecting lines differently. But that's why this is a video. You can see what I'm describing. Probably. I mean, otherwise, I'm very sorry you have to listen to me try and use English. Either way, I like how the spread looks in the end. I really recommend making these tree branches on a whim when you're stuck creatively, because they're super easy to make and you don't need to really think about it. And if it doesn't look right, just go over it or move down the page and make a new one. Anyway, I think this spread is a nice way to wrap up the month. That's all I have for my bullet journal at the moment. If you enjoyed this, consider giving the video a like or leaving a comment down below about maybe your favorite part or any ideas you'd like to see me try out. I do bullet journal videos every month, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!